You ever pull into a gas station and feel like you just drove straight into the middle of someone else's story? That's what happened to me one sticky July evening, just after 7 p.m. I wasn't even supposed to be there, honestly. The only reason I stopped was because the old pickup was running on hope and fumes. My son Ben was in the back seat, feet kicked up, drawing monsters in the dust on the window. I still remember my flannel shirt clinging to my back, the sun low enough to paint everything gold, but hot enough to make you question why you ever left the house. That's when I saw her. She was standing by the next pump in this cream-colored dress, one of those old-fashioned numbers you never see anymore, and she had her face buried in her hands like the whole world had just called her bluff. You know the kind of cry I'm talking about? Not a single tear, not a polite little sniffle, but the real deal, the ugly, broken, shoulder-shaking kind. The kind that makes people look away, pretend they didn't notice. Yeah, I almost did too. Most folks would. Easier to keep moving, mind your own business, right? You never know what's on the other side of someone's heartbreak. But I don't know, maybe being a single dad for the last 5 years changes the way you see things. I've been invisible before. I've had those nights where you just need someone, anyone, to ask if you're okay and actually mean it. So I took a step closer. Heart pounding, palms sweating, because let's be real, it's always awkward stepping into a stranger's mess. But I just said, "Ma'am, are you all right?" No answer. Just shaking her head, hands trembling. She didn't have words, and I didn't push for any. Sometimes words just make things worse anyway. So I grabbed a bottle of water from the truck and handed it over, small gesture, but sometimes that's enough. "Take your time," I said, voice barely above a whisper. "No rus. I'm here." Eventually, when her breathing slowed and the sobs turned to hiccups, she told me her story. Her husband was gone 3 months now. Bills stacked higher than hope, and she just kept driving because home didn't feel like home anymore. She didn't even know where she was headed, just knew she couldn't stay where she was. I told her a little about my own mess, about losing my wife in a car accident, about raising Ben alone, piecing together odd jobs just to keep food on the table and a roof over our heads. I didn't say it to make it a contest. Grief isn't a racy, it's just sometimes you need to hear you're not the only one barely treading water. I could see it in her eyes, then a tiniest flicker of relief. Like maybe the world wasn't out to get her after all. Like maybe she wasn't crazy for feeling the way she did. We didn't swap numbers or promise to stay in touch. There was no movie moment hug or dramatic music playing. Just two broken people, leaning on each other for a minute in the soft neon glow of a gas station, finding out it's okay to not be okay. Then she was gone, driving off into the kind of night that feels like it could swallow you whole, and I honestly thought I'd never see her again. But life's got a funny way of circling back around. Next day, I'm in the yard, wrestling a busted fence post while Ben's chasing our neighbor's dog up and down the lane, because what else is summer for? When this car pulls up, at first, I barely recognize her. She's got her hair tied back, and her shoulders are set a little straighter, but it's her all right. She steps out holding a folder, walks right up to me before I can even put my hammer down. "I didn't know how to thank you," she starts, voice still a little shaky, but there's steel under it now. "But you reminded me yesterday that life's worth fighting for. I want to help you fight for yours." And she hands me this folder, just hands it over like it's nothing. Inside, the deed to a house, paid in full. I just stood there, jaw on the ground, sweat mixing with dirt on my face, looking back and forth between her and the papers. "I can't accept this," I stammered, because seriously, who just gives a stranger a house? But she just smiled, tears in her eyes again, but this time they're the good kind. "You can," she said. "Yesterday you gave me hope. Today, I'm giving it back." She squeezed my hand, and that was it. Got back in her car and drove away, leaving me with a set of keys and a heart about to burst out of my chest. Let me back up a sec, because if you're thinking this is where the story ends, you don't know how life really works. That house changed everything. Not just for me and Ben, but for the whole block. Neighbors I'd never talked to started dropping by. We fixed up the porch together, kids running wild in the yard while the adults swapped stories and cold beers. It was like the world cracked open just a little and let the light pour in. Some nights, I'd stand on that porch, watching Ben chase fireflies and listening to the laughter echoed down the street. And I'd think about that moment at the gas station, a way kindness can blindside you, sneak up, and shake your whole world loose. But here's the twist you probably didn't see coming. About 6 months later, there was a knock on my door. I open it, and it's her again. Only this time, she's not alone. She's got a kid with hair, a little girl, maybe 7 or 8, hiding behind her leg. Turns out, she'd been fostering, giving back to kids who needed someone to fight for them the way she once needed. We stood there on the porch, the three of us, and suddenly it was like every ugly, broken thing we'd carried had made room for something new. Yeah, that happened. Now, I don't pretend to have all the answers. Sometimes I still wake up wondering when the other shoe's gonna drop, if it was all some big cosmic mistake. But then I see Ben and that little girl running barefoot in the grass, their laughter tangling up at the wind, and I think maybe this is how you put the world back together. One cracked heart at a time. Maybe that's what justice looks like. Or maybe it's just dumb luck and a lot of stubborn hope. And look, I'm not here to preach. I'm just a guy who stopped for gas and ended up with a story I never saw coming. But if you're listening, if you've ever felt like you're one bad day away from falling apart, just remember, sometimes it only takes one stranger, one tiny spark of kindness to change everything. You never know when you'll be that person for someone else or when they'll be that person for you. So what do you think? Was it fate or just a fluke? Did I do the right thing? Is there even such a thing as justice? Or are we all just trying to do our best with what we're given? Drop your thoughts below. Let's get real about it. I want to know where you stand. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the stories never really over, and sometimes the best endings are the ones we write together.